So I had to go in and meet with this lawyer today. Or not today, it was yesterday. So this guy is like handling my disability dispute. Essentially, they're doing it like pro bono because they think I could win. And I like the whole time we've been going through this, I have not thought that I was going to win, but it seems like I might have a chance. Anyways, we were talking about like how I interact with people and like how I have. You watch Legion of Skanks. Like I have like Lewis style incidents all the time. Like I am just like him. Like I have these incidents. I can't help myself. I just fucking can't keep my mouth shut and I just go crazy, you know? So I'm telling him about all these incidents that I've had and like how I've been kicked out of all these fucking doctors' offices and blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking about it last night. I was like, I've got a great story for Dan on like the way I got this way. So when I was 17, me and my dad went down to Southern California to go ride for a week, like just go out and go race and everything like that. And so we got a hotel and then we went over to this like mini mart gas station thing right by our hotel to kind of like gear up on everything. So we're in there, we grab like, chips, jerky, soda, a couple Slurpees. And then my dad grabs like a 36, as many Coors Lights as they possibly had in a box. He grabbed that. And we had all this shit. So like I grabbed some of it and I start pulling it up onto the counter. And this Indian guy, oh no, you cannot buy the alcohol if you're not 18. And I'm like, yeah, it's his alcohol. Oh no, you put it up on the counter. So it's your alcohol. Like, no, it's not, dude. And so my dad's losing his shit at this point. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's my booze, And at this point, I go, all right, fuck it. I'll go out to the truck and get my ID. I've got a fake ID. My dad knows I have a fake ID. He doesn't give a fuck. So I go out to the truck and I grab my fake ID. By the time I get back into the mini mart, the guy is wearing a Slurpee and there are beers exploding all over the place. And he's just screaming at this fucking guy. And I'm like, hey, we got to go. Like, let's get the fuck out of here. And that's why I am the way I am, Dan. It's in my genes. I can't help myself.
And if it were up to Elon, that would have been a hate crime.
Uh-huh. What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future free state of Greater Idaho, where I do not have my shit together tonight. I am the one-armed madman, and back with us, he's alive. Thankfully, he's here. We've got the great Daniel Steele. What's up, dude?
What's happening, everybody? Man, I was worried when we booked for the day after New Year's we wouldn't have a lot to talk about. It's been quite a fucking long year already.
Oh my God. It's wild. Like, things just happen so fast. And and here's a great example. I came across a video the other day. I sent it to you yesterday of a guy who got busted with guns outside of a fucking Trump rally. And it's like, how do we not even hear about that thing,
Between the two of us?
It was the craziest story. And like, there's some possible fuckery going around in there. And it's like, how much more stuff like that is going on that we just don't even hear about?
Yeah. This one, like, New Year's was really bizarre. Like, I can't tell you I'll run through it and I'll tell you what my likely conclusion to it is, but I'm not like sold.
Yeah.
All right. So you had two men who both were at Fort Bragg together commit these atrocious attacks. They both rented rental cars from the same company. The New Orleans guy, the Airbnb that he rented is burned down already. The Vegas guy rented a Tesla, drove across the country, pulled up so also let me tell you, this guy's special forces.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Really understands munitions and detonation.
Yeah.
Anybody I know that's worked in special forces, basically like, yeah, I could blow up this block if I wanted to.
I could blow up this block I could blow up my block if I wanted to. It's not that hard. Fertilizer and diesel,
Pulls up in front of the Trump Tower, shoots himself in the head, but somehow detonates it. And then and they're tied together, linked at Fort Bragg, and I heard they might have been in Afghanistan together.
Hey, another thing
His
about Fort Bragg, Ryan Ruth also has connections to Fort Bragg. So that's the second Trump shooter that never got a shot off.
Then after he died, his safety number on Signal changed. Though they haven't been able to get into his phone, somebody was able to change his encryption key. But the FBI says that they both acted alone. These are completely unrelated. But I do want to give a big shout out to the men and women of the FBI who were able to disrupt the terrorist attack for APAC's office in Florida. Thank God we didn't have 3 deadly events in 2 days.
Yeah. I mean, like my mom's husband is a former sheriff, and we were kind of talking about the FBI recently. And he says that every interaction he's ever had with the FBI was unnecessary and just made things worse. He said essentially they are fucking morons. They come in, they take over in a situation that they don't really have a great understanding of. A lot of times, like local cops have a much better understanding of what's going on because they understand maybe the neighborhood that whatever the event happened in. Maybe they've arrested somebody that's connected to maybe they know somebody who lives next door to the guy. There's like all of these things that just being in the area like help you have a handle on. Like during COVID, all my buddies from San Francisco thought I lived in the middle of a cow pasture because I live in fucking Idaho. It's like, no, we have 1 million people in this valley.
Yeah.
If some, New York City fucking black, FBI agent with a nose ring comes out to fucking Idaho for the first time and's never been outside of, the Beltway, like how great are you really going to be at understanding the area that you're working in?
But they were able to stop the attack on APAC, not
Well,
on the American citizens.
did they, or is it one of these ones where they fucking got it was their attack in a Governor Whitmer thing, like the government, oh, we saved the governor from ourselves.
I guess the conclusion that I'm coming to now on all of this is it's really funny that all of this is happening about 20 days before somebody's coming in and promising to cut off all their funding and disrupt their entire world.
They have to make themselves relevant.
Yes. How could you possibly cut funding if ISIS is attacking? And then I sent you that picture of the ISIS flag.
I saw that.
What I didn't realize was it's upside down.
Oh, really?
And it had creases in it.
So it was probably pulled out of somebody's bag and fucking shoved on the back of the truck at the last minute or something like that. Did you see that John Rich was like, what's up with the red on the gun? And fucking Dan Crenshaw lost his mind. Why are you bringing things up like the people are dying and you only want to know about the gun? Fuck you. The guy got ratio. He can't even tweet right now. He's so bad.
Yeah, it's a tweet with one eye open.
Jesus, fucking guy.
I really dislike that guy.
I hate that guy, and it really gets under my skin too because, like, when he first came on the scene, I thought he was going to be good. A lot of times these SEALs or operators are really plugged into right wing America. They understand the gun culture. They understand like why we're so fucking angry, and they understand why Trump got elected. And it seems to me that like he's just fucking John McCain with an eye patch. And like it's interesting that he hasn't been on Rogan in a couple years. He was on Rogan a couple times.
Oh, I never saw him on there.
I have. I've seen him on Rogan before. I think he actually might have even done an episode with Tulsi Gabbard. I don't remember for sure. I could look that up while you're talking. No, I don't remember, but it was Tulsi did. Anyways, it's interesting that he hasn't been on there anymore. There's a couple people that like Joe had on a lot for a while, and then just like that Kyle Kalinske faggot. He was on Joe's podcast a bunch of times. He came on the day after Alex Jones and Tim Dillon did that, epic episode, and Trump or Joe was eating out of the guy's hand. He was loving these guys, and they've gone so fucking crazy that he won't even have them on anymore. And now Kalinski's, all on board with, Rogan's a racist, Rogan's this, Rogan's that. He's like, you seem to like him just fine when he allowed you to spout your liberal bullshit for 3 hours. Right. Exactly. Fuck that guy. There was a great tweet that he did at one point. I wish I could find it. I've looked for it before, but I doubt I could find it now. He's in an airplane and he takes a picture out of the window and he goes, really interesting that these crops are growing in squares with circles inside of them. Why does it do that? It's like he didn't understand a farm. You know, they have the circular fucking watering deal. It's like you don't.
Yeah.
How in the fuck are we supposed to believe that you're for the working man if you don't understand anything about the working man? And also, any guy who marries a woman 10 years older than him is just suspect, as far as I'm concerned. That crystal ball lady, she looks all right, but she's 10 years older than you. The fuck are you doing?
When you fly over Northern California, the desert in Nevada, it does look awfully peculiar. Those alfalfa fields.
Yeah.
Do you know why they're there?
Oh, I'm not really.
So when you have water rights, you have to use water at a certain rate. And
Ah,
alfalfa is
makes sense.
incredibly intensive with water. So they basically just grow these alfalfa fields so that they use up their water rights so that they don't get them taken away.
That's interesting. I saw a video the other day of a guy he's got a ranch somewhere out in the middle of nowhere in California. He's got his own well, and they want to put a meter on his fucking well for water that he owns. And it's like, what can you do with the, you know?
That's another thing that I learned that was much more attractive about Tennessee than anywhere around Nevada, like a driving distance to Nevada. Not only do you have to buy your land, you have to buy rights for what's under your land. Other people can own that and the government can take it from you unless you buy that.
Mm-hmm.
In Tennessee, it just comes with everything.
That's cool.
But you have to go and buy. So if he's using more water than he owns water rights to, the government can tax him or do whatever, probably kill his dog.
Yeah. Yeah. And how do they figure out how much water you have the right to? So like I live in the Treasure Valley, which used to be a massive fucking lake. Whatever happened 10,000 years ago that melted all those ice caps, it just filled us up with a massive lake. And now we've got a reservoir underneath our valley that's bigger than Lake Michigan. They have no fucking clue how much water is actually in it. The only way that they understand it is they can measure the output or the outflow. And they can say, oh, there's less outflow this year, which means we don't have enough water. And then they shut our fucking sprinklers off in August instead of September.
So the way that so you buy land by the acre, you buy your water rights by the acre too.
Oh, really?
I don't know how much that entitles you per acre, but like when I looked in Utah, I was looking at like 5 acres of land, and then I would have had to go buy like a 1/4 acre water rights to own water and be able to have it not be commandeered by the government in time of emergency. And the water rights were more than the land.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just fucking wacky.
That was that whole like Ammon Bundy thing, right? Is they owned all that land forever, and then the government just up and decided, well, we own all the resources underneath it, or I don't remember the exact case, but essentially, like their family had owned that land for hundreds of years, and the government just up and decided it was theirs now, which is so fucking evil and so corrupt. It's just disgusting.
So when I started looking at land in Tennessee, I just thought it was like that everywhere because I'd never bought empty land before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to make sure, like, how do I buy these rights? And the realtor's like, this is Tennessee. It's your property. Those are your rights.
That's the way it should be.
The wood. And sometimes you don't even own right to the wood on your land.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
That's a little more edge casey, but so like, I was reading about a guy who bought land with wood and he just wanted to clear off an acre to build on, and he got in trouble. They're like, that's not your wood to chop down, sir.
Huh. That's interesting. You know, like the natives, they didn't have private property. They had tribes, and the tribes kind of like controlled certain areas. And, you know, there was, you know, broad borders, but for the most part, it kind of just was up in the air for the most part. And one of the interesting things they did was like, you know, commies always like to point, oh, they didn't have property and, you know, money and blah, blah, blah. What they did have, though, is they did things the way that you're supposed to be done. Like, if that's your land, that's your water. So, like, anybody can go into the forest that tribe controls or, you know, is near around. Anybody can use those resources. But if you make a basket out of those resources, that's your basket. Nobody has a right to come and take your fucking basket. I always thought that was pretty interesting. I don't really know why that sparked that for me, but
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, just the way civilization has evolved since then. Um, if I think about it, like the city of Rome and the Roman Empire was the biggest Western city ever
mm-hmm.
for a while, and their population is the same as Boise.
Yeah. And
so if you have 50,000 people living on 50,000 acres, you're not going to get, there's not going to be much of a scarcity of resources in that forest.
No. And another interesting thing that I read a book about this a while back, and there's all these massive fucking meadows all over the East Coast. I've never been really to the East Coast, so I haven't seen any of this shit. But like through Appalachia and like up into the Ohio area and stuff like that, there's just these massive fucking meadows and shit. And that was all cleared out by the natives. They wanted better hunting and better farming, and they changed the environment just like we do. But was that climate change back then when they cut down all those trees? I don't know.
I think it was warmer on average back then.
It was colder. We had a couple, so there was the medieval warming period where there was some warming, but then you had the little ice age that really fucked everything up. The interesting thing is when you look at a timeline.
When was that?
Huh?
When was the little ice age?
Oh, I'd have to look it up. It's within it's after Rome. So if you look at I can pull it up next time you're talking, but if you look at the timeline of civilizations of the world, all of the major peaks like Rome, Greece, whenever things were good, it's always warm. As soon as it got cold, shit goes down, production goes down, people get sick and die. It gets nasty. But yeah, the little ice age, and so when they're showing you that hockey stick graph up and to the left, they are discounting the little ice age and the medieval warming period, because if they counted those within that data, it would just disqualify it completely. Let me look up the little ice age.
I saw a chart when it was scientists or whatever from the Washington Post were trying to prove that we're in unnaturally warm temperatures.
Oh no!
It's a line graph of temperature over time on average, and we're well below the average right now.
So here we go. Wait, hold on. So the little ice age was between the 14th and 19th century. It was particularly pronounced in the North Atlantic regions and was likely the coldest period in the last 8,000 years. The little ice age was characterized by bitter winters and mild summers. So when you look at here, I can send you a shot of this. So I'll text you this right now because it's fucking interesting to see. Here we go. Randall Carlson's the best at explaining this because he fucking really just digs into the fucking ice age and that's what he studies. So I don't know if I was able to save the photo. It might not have sent right. Let me see. This is some great fucking podcasting right here. I got it this time. Here we go. Oh, nope, that's not it either. Jesus. What is going on with this thing? I'll try a different one. Here, this is the same fucking thing. Copy. Here we go. There it is. You should have it in a second. But yeah, I mean, when you put that graph next to the timeline of civilization, everything lines up at the same. During the little ice age, actually the Thames River froze over completely. So they had these big ice fairs right in the middle of downtown London because the entire fucking thing was just frozen. It's really interesting, when you start looking at the actual temperatures of the Earth over the last 12,000 years. We're in an interglacial period right now. We're in a warm period of an ice age, essentially. But we are still in an ice age. And that's what everybody should be terrified of, is an ice age. It's easy to cool the planet down if we needed to. If we really needed to cool the planet down, we could pull some asteroids into one of our Lagrange points and blow them up with a nuclear bomb and create a big dust cloud that would cool everything down. There's just all kinds of things you can do. It's when you need heat that you're running into trouble, because then you got to build mirrors. You got to do all kinds of shit if you need more heat. Burn, whatever you can, maybe set off a volcano or something like that. But for the most part, like, the cold should terrify everybody, because I think we might have even played these videos back in a couple episodes. It was probably 10, 15 episodes ago, but where they were saying that, there was actually not enough CO2 in our atmosphere to have cultivation and agriculture during the Ice Age. And it's like, that's only a 10 degree difference from where we are right now or something like that. And I mean, to think that we're only 10 degrees away from losing civilization, it's fucking terrifying. We could go a whole lot hotter before it like actually fucked with civil. It'd make it hard to live on the coastlines if it got 10 degrees hotter, but the earth would love it.
Yeah. I wonder if I can so it's interesting. We both sent each other charts.
Yep, I see yours.
But I'm looking at our message thread,
mm-hmm.
and it's just funny how, because you were talking about hockey stick.
The one that you sent me is a good one. It shows how much cooler we are than like first mammals, first vertebrates, like extinction. We are so much colder than it's been in the last, 480 million years. It's not even close. Like, there's one point in time where we were this low. And if you ask any fucking climate scientist, like, are we getting too hot and is it too hot? Like, they're all going to tell you it's too hot, but it's hard to argue with the ice cores. The ice cores fucking tell the real story.
Let's see. Let me share this real quick so that the people at home can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so the screenshot or the picture up on the top is this bad production. Mm-hmm. All my shit's behind it, but whatever.
Oh, this is good.
The one at the top is the one that's telling you about scary global warming.
Yep.
And the one at the bottom is the average temperature, the global mean surface temperature. As you can see, we're trending up a little bit, but this is way below what it has been on average forever. Both of these charts are accurate, but one is used to scare you and the other one's hidden from you.
Yep. And look, 1200 BC middle, and that one up there, the middle warming period. Like, that's when, civilization, 1200. What was going on in 1200? I don't really know what was going on in 1200. I'm not a fucking historian, but
probably war.
Probably fucking war. Yeah, I would imagine. Like, I guess that's around Rome, right? Rome was in that area, maybe a little before that, if I remember correctly. Like, Rome was, the Roman Empire ended like 2,000 years ago. It was post Jesus, I know that, but it could have been 1,000. I don't know. Maybe you'll find it.
Beginning 27 BCE, peak 117 CE, so I guess that's 80 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then collapse 476.
So it was right in there. It was right in there. It was a little before that, but yeah, it was right in there. I should know more about this shit, but
Yeah.
So, New Orleans. Dude, I'm so glad you're okay. Like, that's so fucking scary that you were there for that. Like,
the thing is, I tell everybody to stay off of fucking Bourbon Street, but very few people listen, clearly.
Yeah, right? So, like, I'm always torn. I live here in Idaho, and I don't carry very often. Like, I have a belt to do concealed carry and shit like that, but I just, like, don't really feel the need to do it most of the time. But, man, if something like that happened and I was there and I wasn't armed, I would feel so fucking guilty. Like,
well, I mean, we're talking about a Soros DA.
Yeah.
So when I carry, especially, I carry everywhere. Every state's a constitutional carry state unless you're a pussy.
Yeah.
No,
no, I agree.
I definitely
agree.
I don't carry in states where it's illegal. That was a joke. But I have a concealed carry permit, which allows me to carry in almost every state, and then I live in a state that is constitutional carry, so I carry everywhere.
Yeah.
Um, and in those situations, I'm not trying to save anybody except my wife and myself. Dave Smith he was talking about the Daniel Penny thing. He's like, yeah, it'd be pretty fucked up if I saw somebody assaulting people in public, but if it's a matter of my wife being deprived of my presence or that person that I don't know, I'm going to choose my wife every time. And they vilify any white man that defends anything now.
Hmm.
So that like literally just caring to defend myself.
Yeah.
In that situation, I would have tried to get out of there as fast as I could. I put my body over my wife's, and if I had a shot to protect us, I would shoot. But if I could get out of there and not do anything, I'm fucking gone. And I'm not. Call me a pussy. I don't
No,
care.
that guy was wearing
That-
body armor, man.
yeah,
Like, what are you gonna do if you can't get a
yeah,
headshot off? You're fucked, man. He's got an AR. Like,
yeah,
he's gonna
yeah,
if you hit him in the back, he's gonna turn and shoot you.
yeah, yeah. So like that, absolutely. I have absolutely no interest in being a hero. I'm not John fucking Wick.
Yeah,
My wife did get to go shooting while I was out in Vegas. I had to go to a meeting, and she was hitting 200 yards with steel sights, so I'm pretty proud of that
that's
too.
cool. My mom got a gun
Um,
for Christmas this
yeah,
year. She's never really shot before or anything like that. Like, we were talking like on our open. Like, I have an issue. I fucking can't keep my mouth shut. A lot of times I do stupid things because I don't have great impulse control, and being an amputee has changed that a lot because it's really changed my perspective on like self-defense and like what you should do to protect other people. I've gotten into it with people on buses in San Francisco before. I got in a big fucking, big deal with this black guy. Got on a bus in San Francisco one time, and he just started screaming at this Chinese lady to stop spraying perfume on him. And it's like, she's just sitting there. She's not doing anything, and this guy's pretty big, and he's up in this woman's face and fucking, pointing, poking her and spitting on her and shit. And, at this time I was, 220 pounds. So I was not scared to tangle with this fucking guy. And I kind of grabbed him and, pulled him off the bus and pushed him off the bus. And by the time like I got him off the bus, the cops had showed up, and they fucking like warned me, don't ever do that again. You do not touch people. Like, you don't have the right to do that. And I'm just thinking like, you people are fucking insane. Like, that guy could have done something to that woman. Now though, as an amputee, like the last time I went to a concert with my buddies and they got all hammered, I was like, if you guys start a fight, I'm not going to help you. Like, I'm
yeah,
just not. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm going to get hurt or even worse. A couple months ago, my mom was over here. We were just fucking around doing some yard work, and we were inside, and we heard this like loud crash. And then my neighbors just started fucking screaming, like not like in pain, like angry screaming. And I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? And we kind of look outside, and I can see this car is just like crashed into his driveway essentially. And my mom just goes running outside, and I stop right fucking there, and I ran in here and I grabbed my gun and I said, get the fuck in the house. And I got over there, and it turned out it was just some 16-year-old kid who fucked up. Our road had a blockage sign on it. He didn't see it, and he was just going too fast. But my thought was, I trust my neighbor. Like, I know him. I trust him. I like him. If he's screaming like that, he has a very good reason to be screaming. And my
yeah.
thought is like, we don't know that that's a 16-year-old kid. It could have been an immigrant. It could have been a convict running from the cops. You don't know. And like, if
A
my neighbor's
politician.
just going to be stupid and run over there and jump and get into a fight, I need to have a gun so I can protect him if I have to. And like,
Yeah.
just like explaining that to my mom afterwards, you could just see the look on her face. Like, yeah, I fucked up there. I shouldn't have done that. That was stupid, and
We since I've started carrying a firearm full time, I've had my CCW for a few years now. I've really my anger, like explosiveness, has just gone away because I understand the consequence of things escalating. Because I'm not going to start getting my ass beat and not defend myself with a firearm.
yeah, me
And
too.
if I'm starting, And if I'm starting some shit, well, then I'm going to prison for sure. So it really calmed down the way I approach things a lot. I'm a nicer driver. I let people over. Um,
I've seen enough like road rage videos at this point where people just get shot for giving somebody the finger or something like that, that I try not to do it at all.
yeah.
Like I give people the finger every once in a while and then I go, fuck, I should have done that, you know?
The only time that I've pulled my firearm out thinking I was going to need it, I was turning on the street and the speed limit's 25 miles an hour. There's a hill coming and some trees, but like in the distance that I could see, it was a very clear, safe turn. And this guy comes right up on my ass and starts pointing gun fingers at me. Then we get to a light and it's a double line yellow stoplight.
Mhm.
And this guy comes up and pulls up next to my car. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to defend myself. But then he ended up just flying by. But like that's the closest I've been to an incident with it.
I've I've pulled a
Anything.
gun on somebody once in my life. So this was here actually in Idaho a couple years ago. I was out mowing my lawn. It was summertime. It was probably like 8:30 or something like that. I was just finishing up, and I had elderly neighbors at the time. It was an old man and his wife, and they went to bed really early. And so I'm mowing, and like at one point during that summer, they had like a nephew or something like that staying with them. So I see this younger guy walking back from their like back area. They like you can walk down their driveway and he's got like a barn and shit back there. So I see him walking and like my backyard backs up right to the fence between their driveway. So I see him walking out to the road and I go, I don't recognize that fucking guy. And then he starts walking by my house and I look at him and go, oh, this guy's a thug. He's homeless or something. Like this is not good. This guy's fucking casing my neighbor's house. So it took me a minute to like figure everything out. And so he walks by my house and then turns to walk in front of my house into my neighborhood. And so I take my lawnmower over to the other side of my lawn because I had a short fence at the time. And I go, hey man, what the fuck are you doing in my neighbor's house? Like you can't be doing that shit. You're gonna get fucking shot. You need to stay the fuck out of my neighborhood. And that was kind of it. There was a fence between us and he's talking shit. Fuck you. I'm looking for a place to live. I got money, just doing the thug thing. And I go, this guy's fucking crazy. So I go inside, I get my gun, and I continue mowing. Like 2 or 3 minutes later, I see him walking back from the direction he came on the opposite side of the street from my house, walking diagonally towards my house. I go, oh shit, he's fucking coming over here. So I walk into my garage, the door is open, and he starts walking up my driveway and goes, hey, homie, I think we got off on the wrong foot. And I said, no, we didn't. You need to leave right fucking now. Do not take another step towards me. If you come into my property, I will shoot you. Get the fuck out of here. I never want to see you again. And he just kept talking shit and this and that. And I ended up calling the cops and they wouldn't take the report because I wouldn't give them my name. But, depend on them to protect you, right? I told him exactly where he was, where he had walked, which house he had gone into. Didn't do shit. Never even drove by.
So in our area, there's been a rise in car break-ins, and there's a pretty big Facebook group for the neighborhood. And somebody's like, "Hey, has anybody thought about doing a neighborhood watch?" Like 3 people respond with Zimmerman, 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 and so I responded to one of the people's posts. It's like, oh, the neighborhood gun guys waiting for their day, and they post a picture of Zimmerman. I responded. I said, there's 25,000 neighborhood watch programs in the United States. There hasn't been an incident like Zimmerman since in 12 years. 11% of children report getting diddled in school, but you're sitting here shaming your neighbors for wanting to help each other. I said, go ahead with that. And then his post, all the Zimmerman posts got deleted. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude, that one
Fuck that.
pissed me off. We
It's
were in Denver. I think I said something about this, but now that I'm looking at Daniel Penny, I really don't know what the right reaction should have been. But we're walking around in downtown Denver. It's like a big open air mall thing, and this erratic homeless person is running up to people screaming in their face. He starts coming at us, so I hand my wife my glasses. I'm like, okay. And then he sees me like hand my glasses and clench my fist, and he went and fucked with somebody else. But I mean, Denver, they're just as communist as fucking New York. Like I probably would have went to jail for that.
Yeah. I've got a great homeless guy story. So when I was living in San Francisco, I lived in like the shittiest neighborhood in San Francisco. Like I wasn't in Hunters Point. I was kind of by the Cow Palace. I'm sure you've been to San Francisco before, so you kind of know like the Richmond. I was in San Bruno Avenue, essentially, which is just a shithole. They call us White House because we were the only white people in the neighborhood. And there's like 6 of us running the house. So, but I never had any issues in that neighborhood. Like there was a liquor store down at the corner by the bus stop. I'd stop there and get cigarettes every night. And like I always got along great with all those people. Like they were just
You're
fun.
just in a neighbor.
Yeah.
You were a neighbor.
And like I had a dirt bike with a street legal kit on it. And I remember I went out one night and there was this black dude sitting on my bike. And I was just like, oh shit, this could be bad, you know? And like I just, you know, I'm outnumbered. I'm in a neighborhood that's not really my neighborhood. I live in somebody else's neighborhood. And I just go, hey man, how you doing? You ever ride a dirt bike? And just was nice to him. He's like, oh no, man, these things are fucking scary. I was like, all right, man, I got to take off. So just fucking hop off, do a wheelie for us. And, you know, I did a couple wheelies and it was cool, you know. Anyways, so we lived on the corner, like our backyard had a fence and then there was the freeway. And then there was a freeway off ramp, and there was just like a little empty lot type of thing that wasn't big enough for a house, but it was just kind of there on the side of our house, kind of fenced in with like government fencing, not household fencing. So we had this fucking homeless guy start living in that area on the side of our house. And like, it's San Francisco. And I wouldn't have really cared all that much if he wasn't making a fucking shitload of noise. But he was doing cans at 5 o'clock in the morning. He'd be crushing cans and moving fucking cans around. So I get out there and start screaming, get the fuck out of here. And I'm spraying him with the hose. And it just, you know, doesn't do anything. He's throwing cans at me. I'm spraying him with the hose. So I do the responsible thing and start calling the fucking government, right? I call one number and they put me through to another number. They tell me to call that same number again. And they're just sending me in a fucking loop. And I finally get an answering machine that, you know, no one is ever going to return. So I had to take it into my own hands. I didn't have a gun at the time because I was a little nervous having a gun in San Francisco, especially after getting scolded by cops in that fucking bus situation. So yeah. I grabbed a bottle of maple syrup while he wasn't home and I put it all over all of his shit. And there was just fucking ants everywhere. So he ended up moving. And the funny part about it is his buddies would come to my house and knock on the door and ask me where he is.
Hey, where's your roommate? Who the fuck?
And I'm like, hey man, where's Rob? I'm like, who the fuck is Rob? Oh, he's been living over there for a couple months. I'm like, yeah, I fucking sent his ass packing. Get out of here.
I did buy some more Tesla stock today because all those headlines made it dip.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you see? Did I send you that the link to the? It was. I think it's called like something quantitative. Anyways, this company, I could look it up, but this fucking company, this guy, what's it called? Quiver Quantitative. So this guy for Quiver Quantitative put together a stock tracker for everybody in Congress and the Senate. So you can watch their trades live.
Pelosi, she made 50% on her money last year.
Yeah, better investor than Warren Buffett.
By a lot.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy, right? Like,
yeah.
It's wild. Like, we live in the craziest world. It's amazing that, like, everybody knows what's going on there. We all know that they're using influence to make fucking money. And, like, you can watch them do it live and nobody fucking does a goddamn thing about it. It's so corrupt. It's so disgusting. It's like rubbing your dog's nose in shit.
I think that there's this era of politicians who've been in power forever that are just so used to having carte blanche and nobody ever reporting on it. Like Eye Patch McCain is like, oh, I only have like $25,000 in the market. And then it's like, oh no, we can see that.
Do you think he's freaking out behind the scenes? Like every time he tweets, he's looking at it like, why is this happening?
Yeah, absolutely. We used to be a proper country.
Yeah. This is not
Yeah.
my fault. It's everybody else has gone crazy.
Sorry.
You're all good. You want to touch on H1B?
Oh yeah, let's
Let
talk
me
about
let me
that.
give you my kind of take on this because I'm probably wrong. I don't have any experience in this field. You do. So let me kind of like lay out the way I think about this and you can tell me why I'm wrong. So my thought is if you want to hire Indian slave labor, you're going to do it to your peril. Like I would imagine, and this is just me guessing, that the best programmers, the best, tech guys, engineers are going to be American born. So either Indian Americans, white Americans, even black Americans. Like I think the Americans have something that the Indian caste systems do not have. They don't have the same like they don't have the same concept as freedom that we do. And I think it probably puts them in a bit of a box that they're not able to think out of in the same way as an American. So my thought is like, sure, your big company can do okay hiring slave labor Indians that are going to do just good programming. They're going to follow directions, because they're great at following directions. They're essentially fucking slaves. But you're not going to make the next big technological breakthrough. You're not going to create AGI with Indian slave labor. Like you want Americans who are free thinkers.
I guess I've never thought about it that way. And I don't really have a response for that. Just my experience in owning companies.
ChatGPT says I'm racist.
Well, you are. Real tangentially, we're going to an event somewhere in the world, and one of my buddies who's black is coming to stay with us, and this one guy that I'm working with is like, he looks like he might be able to be in the Aryan Brotherhood, but he's always just been cool to me, and we don't talk about shit.
Yeah.
So I had to call the guy that introduced me. I'm like, is he just like regular racist and laughs at jokes, or is he like racist? Because we have a black guy staying in the same house. He's like, oh no, he doesn't even really make racial jokes. But I'm like, but is he regular racist?
Dude, we had black people working on our line crews, and fuck, man, racist jokes.
In North Dakota.
Oh, yeah. We had this guy named G. Dude, he pissed me off so fucking bad one night. We had this shitty line truck that didn't have heat in it, and it's -40. So we're driving around all day in this piece of shit with no fucking heater. And we get to the end of the day, and the lineman that's like the head of our crew, he's like, "All right, you can ride back with me, G. You're in the bucket truck." I'm like, "Fuck yeah! I don't have to ride in the fucking line truck and freeze my ass off." G, "Oh, I need to go into town and buy some more warm clothes. I don't have good boots and gloves, so I gotta go." I'm like, "Motherfucker! Now I gotta go fucking ride with you because if you go off in the other direction and your goddamn truck breaks down and you don't have any service, you're going to freeze to death. So now I got to ride with you and go into the fucking store." So I got in there and I rode with him. We get to the gas station because that's where you buy everything in North Dakota is the gas station. There are places where you can buy clothes and tools, but they close at 5 o'clock and nobody gets off of work before 5 o'clock. So you have to buy everything from the gas station. We get to the gas station. He goes, "Yeah, these boots are too expensive. I'm just going to wait until I go home next time."
Oh, that sucks.
You motherfucker. But he was great. He was always like loved the jokes. So I had when I went to the hospital, the burn unit, we had 2 black guys on our crews, G and another guy named, I don't remember his name actually now. Anyways, I got fasciotomies, which like you can kind of see, I've got these big gnarly cutouts all through my arm and my hand. So they just gutted me and cut out all this tissue. And their first move was to put cadaver skin on me. So I had like black, yellow, white, darker black, like all over my hands. And so I had somebody take a picture of me with a wallet like in my hand. And then I texted it to the black dudes. I was like, "I don't know what happened, man. I woke up, I had this black skin on my hand, and I had my doctor's wallet." They thought it was great. Yeah. I had a boss in San Francisco. He's such a piece of shit. He was a douchebag. I hated him. Like, I was always getting into it with him, but he actually taught me a lot about like choosing your battles and like Inception. Inception is a real thing when you're working with somebody who does not like taking other people's ideas. So you have to
Yeah.
make your idea become their idea. And like one of the things we argued about constantly was he would go to Hawaii. He loved going to Maui, and then he'd go to Duke's or any of these other bars and go, oh, I like that, what they do. So we're going to do that. So for some fucking reason, he up and decided that all of our bartenders and servers needed to wear white shirts. I'm making drinks with blue carousel all day and I had to wear a fucking white shirt. It was the most ridiculously stupid idea anybody had ever come up with, and he just wouldn't fucking move on it. I never did get him to move on it. It was just so dumb. Anyways, when I got hurt, I hadn't worked there for a couple months because I had quit and gone into line work. So like everybody heard about it and they put together care packages and shit for me. It was really nice of them. They sent me a bunch of cool stuff and just, reaching out to be nice. We're thinking about you. So my boss, we had an arcade in the bar. It was like sports bar, arcade, tiki bar. It was the weirdest bar you've ever been into. And he went into one of the machines and got me a fucking Game Boy. I just blew my hands off. I can't fucking do anything. And he sent me a Game Boy. And so the guy who sent everything, he put it on top because he got it. Like none of the other guys got it, but he looked at it right away and he was like, "Oh my God, what a piece of shit." And I called him afterwards. I was like, "Can you believe he gave me a fucking Game Boy out of his own machine?" He's like, "What are you gonna do? He's just an asshole."
All right, so H1,
Yeah.
this whole thing. First off, it's a nothing. The story is nothing.
Yeah, the numbers are minimal.
Well, first off, when Trump was on the campaign trail, he said that everybody who graduated college here should get a visa. And I don't know that I disagree with that. I haven't looked too far into that. But what do you think? We're hearing reports of it's 10 million people got here illegally. Other people are saying it's probably 30 million people. What they're talking about is reforming a program that allows 81,000 people a year in, tops. So let's say they completely reform it and they get 4 times as big. So 320,000 people. Over 4 years, that's 1.3 million people. That is 1/30th of the number of people that were allowed to come here illegally.
Yeah.
This isn't the mass, like, get rid of whites thing. This isn't any of that. And those people that are coming here to write code with AGI coming, which we're working towards, and we need more people to get there. They're just writing the code to replace themselves.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've worked with a millennial fucking participation trophy getting American kid.
Yep.
They suck.
Dude.
It's not great. Those, like, I hire based on merit. I don't look at immutable facts. So I've hired an incredibly wide range of people. And I'll never hire on immutable facts ever, just out of, I think it's bullshit. But my experience has been either first generation or immigrants work 3 or 4 times harder than the kids that would start talking about where they're going to go to lunch at 11:30, get up from their desk at 11:55 so that they could leave right at noon for lunch, come back at 1:10, and then talk for 20 minutes because they're getting settled, because that's how the world treats them. Now, is there a complaint that the system has failed them? Yes, absolutely. I was promised this, and this is what I got. Sure, yeah, that's fucked up. That sucks. So why are we going after the people actually trying to change that system right now? Actively trying to change that. This narrative is just a bunch of divisive bullshit that we don't fucking need. Like, just keep our eye on the prize. Let's get rid of the IRS and the ATF. Let's get rid of the Department of Education, which these kids who fucking suck to work for you came from. But no, we're America's proud. Shut the fuck up. It's just incredibly ridiculous. I just, like, I can't I fucking had to mute the word H1 because people that I think are generally good on topics are like, oh, I'd rather a Chinese American citizen get a job rather than somebody from the Nordic with an H1 visa. I'm like, I don't give a fuck if they're qualified. And the people who work harder will, like, I'm going to hire both of them or give them an equal chance to work for me. And the people who will stick around is probably the Nordic immigrant. You're muted.
Sorry, the dog was barking.
No worries.
When I worked in bars, like I was always big on meritocracy. So I was a bartender for most of the time that I worked in restaurants. I did some serving, but so the main problem that I had working there was with millennials, and it was 90% of it was women that felt that they were entitled to more than they were worth. So the worst person in the restaurant, absolute worst person, the least qualified, who does the least amount of work and deserves the least amount of money is the hostess. They stand there, they walk a person to a table, and maybe they pick up a drink every now, or maybe they pick up some dishes every now and then. And they're always entitled, we don't make, you don't tip us enough. We work so hard, blah, 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 blah. And then they get promoted to, I was always a big proponent of promote from within. I didn't like hiring. Like I've trained so many bartenders over the years, and I can make a waitress who knows my system into a great bartender. I can't make a mediocre bartender with bad habits into a great bartender at this restaurant. It's just not going to happen. So you get a couple good you get every once in a while, you get a good hostess that works hard and understands that like I can move my way up in the company. And they do. And as soon as they become a waitress, it's those fucking lazy hostess. They don't work hard enough. They could be doing this and be doing that. And as soon as they get promoted to bartender, it's the same fucking thing. Like these lazy waitresses, they don't fucking do anything. Their drinks are always sitting on the well, and I don't want to, it just. And you know who didn't complain? The Mexican dishwashers or the Mexican cooks. They just worked their fucking asses off for as many hours as we would allow them to. And so I've got another. So this was my kind of deal on H1B as well. Is like everybody that I went to college with was fucking stupid, just ridiculously stupid. And we weren't like, we were doing, business. This wasn't fucking coding or anything like that. But just for the shits and giggles, I'm going to read to you. I've saved this essay that I had. So I had one of my last classes. It was a difficult class. We had to read the Theban plays, the Greek Theban plays. It was, what's his name? I don't remember. The guy who married his mother. He killed his father and married his mother. I don't remember his name. Anyways, we had to write an essay for the end of this class about like Greek history, essentially. And this is the worst essay you will ever fucking hear in your life. And I can promise you, this was not written by an ESL student. This was a white girl. History is what is taught about events that happened in the past. The Greek world takes place in the past and is needed to be examined. Plays were written about things that had happened because it was an interesting thing at the time. A lot of these philosophers had stories written about them to get their stories out there so they could get taught and studied. The Greeks always did things differently than what was taught or known today. Greeks believed God and their culture were focused on their beliefs. This goes on for another 3 fucking pages.
Jesus.
And it gets worse because essentially she ran out of shit to write about on the first page. So I went through it like, I wish I would have saved the actual file instead of just screenshotted it, because I have like a note on every line. By the time I got done, I was so angry that I wasted my time on this shit that I sent I sent the end of it. I was like, this is a really bad essay. Really bad. You said nothing. You just used filler and jibber jabber. Like you said absolutely nothing. And I'm offended that I had to put up with this. Like the fact that you are expecting me to help you on this piece of shit is fucking bullshit. And 20 minutes later, I had to send out a CYA email to my professor because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble for talking shit to this lady. But fortunately, the professor was like, yeah, that wasn't a good essay.
Well, that's good.
Because I had to get pulled into, I had a couple investigations on me while I was in college.
To tap back on the
Yeah.
Mexican dishwasher who didn't complain, growing up in Detroit, where there weren't many Mexicans at all, across every race that I would talk to, everybody just said Mexicans are lazy. Then I moved to Vegas and I bought a pizza place. I'm like, man, was I fucking lied to? Those guys work.
Yep.
And that's the thing. Like, they understand that they have an opportunity to better themselves. And so they're going to work hard so they can continue to do that. And this isn't a cry for an open border by any means.
No.
But it's just a completely different mentality. And I think that gets lost somewhere in the second or third generation after coming to America, unless the person faced extreme hardship.
Yeah. Dude,
That's
we had a dishwasher that worked for 4 different restaurants 7 days a week, as many hours as he possibly could.
Yep.
Like, just worked his fucking ass off. And like, another issue that we had in that restaurant was like, San Francisco was always upping its minimum wage. When I lived there in 2012 through 2015, minimum wage was like $15 an hour.
Wow.
I remember they were upping it to like, it was either from 13 to 15 or 15 to 17. And everybody's all excited. Oh, we're going to make more money. Oh, great. The minimum wage. Yeah. And I'm telling these people, are you fucking stupid? Like, you work in a restaurant, your hourly pay is dick. Like, you don't like that is, you don't even pay attention to that. All this is going to do is allow you to work less hours, less overtime, and you're going to lose money. Oh no, that's not true. And then what happens? We fire the dishwasher, we fire a cook, and now waitresses have to wash their own fucking silverware.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is what you wanted. You wanted this. Remember that. And I remember telling this, she was a great waitress. She was a career waitress. She was in her 30s. And I'm like, you're going to regret this. I promise you're going to regret this. And she did.
Anytime the government gets involved.
Yeah. Right.
It's just.
Yeah. I saw a great
terrible.
list on Twitter the other day. It was like healthcare, immigration, fucking, and it just listed all these things. And at the end, it was like, all of these things are expensive because the government tried to make it cheap and affordable.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll close on this. I'm
Yep.
sure you've seen the meme go around. I wish as a woman I had as many rights as a gun. And usually it's like, oh, I'd love to register my wife or be forced to register. And the one that I saw today was, wouldn't it be great if women were banned from polling stations?
From polling stations?
Yeah, where you vote.
Oh, yeah. That'd be great.
Because guns definitely are.
All right. We're calling it. It was a pleasure. Again, man, I'm so glad you're all right from that fucking disaster in New Orleans.